Hello from Marrakesh. I know a lot of things have been written on Facebook about my experience here, so I just thought I would make this video to let you know firsthand what's going on. First and foremost, the most important thing is I don't want anything in this video to be tone deaf. I realize that my experience here with the earthquake and my broken leg pales in comparison, and really there's nothing to say about that when you're talking about 2,500 people dead and another 2,500 people injured. I get that. It's not lost on me at all. But I just wanted to give you my story. More on that later. Alan and I and 3 other friends are here to celebrate a birthday of a friend of ours in Portugal. And we're on a 3-country jaunt. We're going from Portugal to Marrakesh to Malaga, Spain as part of our trip. And when we got to Marrakesh on Thursday night, and we immediately went to our hotel and checked in. It's to a riad, which is the word they use here for a small boutique hotel. It's a 5-room hotel in the Medina, which is the old section of town, which is a fortified city in a citadel that was built in the 11th century. So we checked in, pretty much got there just long enough to check in and go to bed for our first full day on Friday. So on Friday morning we woke up and we went out and toured the city a little bit and came back and had a lovely dinner at the hotel. And then everybody but me decided to call it a night and go to bed. And instead I went up on the rooftop where under the stars they have this area with pillows and cushions that you could, very Moroccan style, where you can sit out under the stars. And I was reading my book and reading my mail on my phone. And that's at 11:11 is when the earthquake happened. And I have to say it's the scariest thing I've ever experienced, and that's from somebody from California who's been through earthquakes. This earthquake was different. It was a 6.9 on the Richter scale, and we were about 50 miles from the epicenter here in Marrakesh. As I mentioned, Medina is an old city, a lot of old buildings, and when that earthquake first hit, it was an incredible jolt. And then the shaking after that, and then the screams. This was something I had never experienced. As the city was shaking, just the people screaming in the Medina area caused me to immediately stand up and go towards the stairs with a book in one hand and shoes in the other, so no hand free to hold on to the rails. And as I was running down the steps to get down off the rooftop, the shaking, I guess it wasn't stable, I wasn't stable, and I fell and didn't know it, but broke my leg when I landed at the bottom of the stairs. Tried to stand up to run again and realized that I couldn't. And then Alan came out and my friends came out. Pretty much everybody came out, listening to different things falling, different walls and different things that we didn't even know what was falling, and people screaming. It was, as I said, so frightening. Over the next couple of hours, there was some efforts to try to get somebody to come and take me to the hospital because it was clear that I had broken my leg. But cars couldn't get through to where the hotel was because these are small cobblestone streets and alleyways in the Medina, and there was so much debris on the road that cars couldn't get through. I also figured that a broken leg was probably the least important injury that hospitals would be dealing with, and so I decided to just take a Vicodin and go to bed and let things happen as they did. The next morning I woke up and the roads had been somewhat cleared, but even the alleyways to our hotel, cars couldn't get there. So hotel staff had to actually pick me up and take me to the car. And that's where the real story that I want to tell about the situation starts. Because there were 3 or 4 hotel workers in this hotel, and several of them were people who came to the hotel just to make sure that the guests were okay. These are people whose families live in the mountains that were most affected by the earthquake, and they hadn't even been able to find out if their families were safe because the phone systems were down and there was no way to reach them. So here they were helping me and making sure we were safe and carrying me out to a taxi to go to the hospital when they weren't even sure their families were alive. So then I got to the hospital, and it just really the story that I want to tell is that I don't have the typical Marrakesh story of visiting this city or visiting this monument. The story I have to tell is just so much deeper. The people here, the people who helped us to make sure we felt safe. When I got to the hospital, the staff and the doctors, just incredible. Just everybody so warm and helpful and wanting to make sure that everything was taken care of, that we were okay. It's just been incredible. I feel in a weird sort of way that my experience in Morocco, whereas right after the earthquake I thought, well, I'll never come back here again, has made me just the opposite. I can't wait to come back and see this country where the people are so generous and so kind. It's really been transformational for me. I do want to say that if you have any opportunity to help out in the relief effort, it's really a tragedy here. I just talked to my doctor, who told me that just today they were helping a group of teachers who were up in the mountains teaching English to families that live in the mountains. That this group of teachers that finally got here to Marrakesh, to this hospital to make sure that they're checked out, pulled 120 dead bodies out from beneath the rubble of the little town that they were in before walking 18 miles to the next little village to get cell service so that they could call and get help. And now 2 days later, they're just arriving here in Marrakesh for assistance. I mean, my story pales in comparison to the stories I'm hearing here. And yet everybody has been so kind and gracious. So that's really the story that I want to tell. On a much lighter note, I got a visit in my hospital room from the U.S. Embassy. I guess I am one of 2 Americans who got hurt in the earthquake. Marrakesh, kind of because of being 48 miles from the epicenter, there were 17 people who died from Marrakesh. I mean, 17 lives lost in an earthquake is amazing, but when you figure how many people have died, it's really unbelievable that Marrakesh was not so much worse. Anyway, that's the story I want to tell. I want to thank everybody who has reached out to me to tell me that they're thinking about me or wishing me, safe return. I appreciate it. I will fly home on Wednesday, where I fly home and go in for surgery on Thursday on my leg, and I'm going to be fine. But I really appreciate everybody's warm wishes. So that's my story. Sorry for the rambling on and on, but if one day we can talk about it, I'll tell you many more things that were amazing about this experience. So that's it for now. Bye.